Dixie here. Today I want to give you a full review of my ULA Ohm 2.0 pack now that I've hiked roughly 1,300 plus miles with it. I carried the Ohm 2.0 with me for most of my thru hike of the Pinhoti Trail, which is about 350 miles, and then my entire thru hike of the Florida Trail, which is 1,100 plus miles. So I feel like I've got a pretty good idea of the ins and the outs of it. When I first landed on the Ohm 2.0, I was really looking for a pack that was durable enough to carry the weight of the stuff I put inside of my pack, but was still lightweight enough to where I wasn't just adding a ton of weight on my back in addition to my gear. Now, most of my gear is what people would consider lightweight or ultra lightweight, but I take a lot of camera equipment with me, so that kind of offsets everything being super lightweight. Before I tell you what I really liked about the Ohm 2.0, I'm going to give you some of the specs. The Ohm 2.0 is an internal frame pack that's made out of ULA Robic 400 fabric. When I purchased my pack, the claimed weight of a medium pack with a medium hip belt was 34.5 ounces, but now the claimed weight is 33.1 ounces. So they've lightened things up a little bit, and they left off some optional features which I'll talk about later. The total volume of the pack is 63 liters, with 33 liters of that being on the inside of the pack. It's actually just a little bit over 33 liters. And the rest of it is the outer mesh pocket, the cup holders, the hip belt pockets, etc. The weight carrying capacity is 30 pounds, so they recommend that you only have 30 pounds or less in the pack so it can carry comfortably and how it's designed to. I definitely push this pack up to the mid 30s in the way of weight inside the pack, but it ended up holding up just fine. And of course, on the higher end of that, it was less comfortable than if it was closer to that 30-pound range. But all in all, I felt like it carried the weight pretty well for a lightweight pack. Now I want to talk about some of the features of the pack that are important to me or that I liked, because people look for different things in different pieces of gear. It's not a one-size-fits-all type thing. So one of the things that are important to me is shoulder straps. I need them to be comfortable, so wide enough to where they carry comfortably, but also not too wide or too thick where my Peak Designs clip won't fit on my shoulder strap. And if you're not familiar with the Peak Designs clip, it's just a little attachment you can put on a shoulder strap where you can quickly take your camera, just click it out of the clip, take pictures, take video, and then click it right back. It's conveniently located, it carries well and pretty comfortably, unlike it would be if I was to take the strap that it comes with hanging around my neck and then walk, because that'll just drum on your chest or on your gut all day long, and it's not very comfortable for very long. So that's just what I found that works for me, to quickly take pictures and videos of wildlife and then still have it conveniently located when I get done. It's important to me to have a comfortable hip belt. I have bony hips, so most packs end up bruising my hips. So having a wide and comfortable hip belt is important. And this pack did not bruise my hips. Of course, when I first get out there, if I have a heavy load for a certain stretch, heavier than typical, then my hips might feel a little sore, but I've had visible bruising before, and this pack did not do that. I also like having large hip belt pockets, because in one hip belt pocket I usually have snacks and sunscreen, and then in the other hip belt pocket I have camera stuff, electronics, so I carry my small macro lens, my Sony RX100 camera. Sometimes I'll put my cell phone in there, especially if it's raining or something and I've cracked the screen and put it in a Ziploc bag and I want to cram it in there too. So I like having hip belt pockets that allow me to store all sorts of stuff that I'll need convenient access to while I'm hiking, like my camera stuff. Something else that I really like is for a pack to have large cup holders on either side of the pack. I end up cramming a lot of stuff in the cup holders. Again, it's about easy access for me. And I like to carry a tripod with me so that I can set my camera up on it for walk-by shots, or if I'm trying to trick a turtle and coming out of its shell that it's hidden in, or some other animal out of its little animal hole or whatever. So I don't need to make a big fuss and take off my pack and pull out my tripod. I need it to be right there with as much as I record. So I often have water bottles in my cup holders, that tripod, an umbrella, so I need space in those cup holders, and this pack fulfilled that for me. Most packs these days do have an outer mesh pocket. That's very important for me. Again, I like to carry a lot of doodads on the outside of the pack that are easy to get to. So I also carry my raincoat, and if I have rain pants on whatever hike I'm on, in that mesh pocket for easy access. I can just set my pack down. I got to take my pack off to put on my rain gear anyway, and then pull it out of there, because if it's in the mesh pocket, I don't care if it gets wet, and raincoat and rain pants, I don't care if they get wet. So the outer mesh is definitely important for me, and this pack, like many others, has that. ULA gives you an option for a closure type, not like after a breakup, but of a roll top on the Ohm 2.0 or the cinching drawstring type. I like the roll top, so I really appreciated that I was able to get that with this pack. It might have been a deal breaker for me otherwise. I just like the way the roll top packs do, and also I like to be able to put stuff on top of the pack and cinch it down if I need to. With the drawstring, it just wouldn't work as well. Another pack that I really like, the Gossamer Gear Mariposa, does not have the roll top closure, and that was one of the drawbacks to that pack for me, even though I do like that pack. But that's definitely one way that the Ohm 2.0 tops the Gossamer Gear Mariposa, in my opinion. Now, it is $15 extra for that feature, but definitely worth it to me. Another feature or features that I really like about the Ohm 2.0 is it's very adjustable in the fit of the pack. It's got load lifters, it's got 2 different areas on the hip belt that can be adjusted. In fact, I kind of made a mistake on this. I was wondering why my pack wasn't carrying as comfortably after, I don't know, a couple hundred miles of carrying it. It just felt like it was kind of sagging on me, and even though I tightened the hip belt, it wasn't carrying the weight as well. And then it started squeaking and making this awful squeaking noise. I honestly thought I was gonna have to switch packs just because of that. And then I found out there was another adjustment on this pack for the fit that I'm not typically used to. And that was where the body of the pack attaches to the hip belt of the pack. So not in the front where you clip it, but kind of around back, like on your hips / back area. And after I adjusted that, I was like, oh my gosh, why do all packs not have this adjustment? Because it really just shifted the way that I was carrying the weight on my hips. It kind of raised the pack up on my hips in general. I mean, it's just something you kind of have to play with in person and feel the difference. But that is something that I really appreciate about this pack, and if I was looking for a pack going forward in the future, I would hope that it would have that. The ULA Ohm 2.0 has other bells and whistles like non-stretch cordage on either side of the pack, which also can help how the gear in your pack is carried or spread out in the pack, because you can cinch it down to make things a little bit more tight so it carries the gear a bit higher, or you can loosen that up to give you more room and space in the pack so you end up carrying the gear lower. But also it's useful for hanging socks out to dry or attaching other gear. There are other loops that you can attach gear to on the pack. And there's also an internal pad holster. It comes with a little thin foam pad, but I assume if you sleep with a closed cell foam pad that you could probably remove that thin pad and add your own sleeping pad there. I haven't tried that because I use an inflatable sleeping pad, but I assume it would add more rigidity to the pack, and that little thin foam pad you could probably use as a sit pad if you wanted to, but when you've got all your other gear in there, it's just, to me, not super convenient to remove it and put it back in, but it's an option if you didn't mind doing that. All right, so with anything else, it can't be all hunky-dory, right? Like, there are things that I would change about this pack. The first thing I would change about this pack is I would add loops on the bottom where I could put a shelter. I managed to carry the tent on the top of this pack because it had the roll top closure and then the strap that comes over the top so I could cinch it down. But that clip, when I got towards the end of the Florida Trail, it's kind of blown out a little bit on one side. It's not coming unclipped or anything like that, but it just seems like over time that would eventually wear out. Where I think having the loops on the bottom of the pack, like I've seen on other packs, it would just be more convenient to carry a tent or a shelter in some kind of stuff sack like that on the outside of the pack. Also, that would help with it standing up when you set it down to load it. Just having that extra stability on the bottom, I feel like would help it stand up better, which is just like a small pet peeve. But I know I could carry my shelter on the inside of the pack or rearrange the way that I do things, but I just like having a shelter outside the pack. That way, if it's raining, then I can take my tent off the outside of my pack, set it up, throw the pack in there, and then unload everything. So I'm not having to pull anything out of my pack while it's raining. Same thing while I'm packing up in the morning and it's raining or, you know, gross out. I just pack everything up and then pull my pack out, pack the tent up, and it hangs out there on the outside of my pack where hopefully it can drip some of the water off of it while I'm hiking during the day. Now, I haven't had any contact with ULA myself, but I have heard that they are very accommodating to their customers and different requests. In fact, somebody commented on one of my Pinhoti videos saying that he asked about putting the straps/loops on the bottom of his ULA pack, and they did that for him, so maybe that's something I can look into, or you know, if this would be a deal breaker for you, something that you could look into too. Also, I mentioned that this pack does have an outer mesh pocket, and as I mentioned, most packs these days have them, but if I could change something about this pack, it would be that that outer pocket might not be as tight, maybe have a little bit more room in it, because I tend to pack mine with too much stuff, and when I'm digging around and fishing in there, if it's a little bit more loose, it helps with that, and also just being able to store more stuff out there. It worked out fine for me. It loosened up as I continued to use it on the trail, but if I had my perfect pack, that's something I would adjust on this pack to meet my idea of a perfect pack. The cup holders on the sides of the pack, as I mentioned, they were large enough to hold all the stuff I wanted to in there, but I would make them just a little bit taller because I found that if they weren't overstuffed, sometimes if I had a smart water bottle with my Sawyer squeeze on top, because it's such a tall object and it's, I guess you could say, top heavy, or the part that's sticking out of that pocket is kind of top heavy. When I went to pull my pack on, sometimes that top heavy item would flip out of there, so I'd have to be chasing my water bottles with my Sawyer squeezes. Again, if I had stuff all crammed in there, it didn't seem to be a problem, and I possibly could have cinched down on the pockets more, and you know, it wouldn't have been an issue, but I didn't really think about that, you know, when I was putting the one item in there. So I feel like if they were just a little bit taller on the sides, that would help with that. But if you do get this pack and you find that to be an issue, there are cords that you can cinch down on either side to hold things in better. There are some features that the Ohm 2.0 used to come with, but now they are add-on accessories. So if you saw my video a while back last year where I introduced this pack and you're like, wait a second, didn't have some other stuff with it. One of the things that my pack has with it, because it came with it, is an inside stash pocket. That's just a little dangly pocket that hangs from the top of the pack on the inside, and it is convenient for putting, I mean, anything that you want easy access to. I could see people putting keys in there if they're going on a section hike, just anything that you want secured with a zipper, so it's there, it's safe, you don't have to worry about it getting lost in the shuffle of the rest of the pack. And things like keys, wallet, those are things I don't really think about while I'm on the trail in the moment, but then when I get to town, I'm like, oh crap, where did I put this? So it's just a nice place to put it, where also you're not maybe pulling other stuff out all the time and risking losing those items. That's what I used it for. If it hadn't come with it, I probably wouldn't have ordered it separately, just because I wouldn't have wanted to add the weight to it, but it was convenient and I did enjoy having it. One feature that my pack came with that I removed, and again is now available as an add-on accessory, is hand loops, and these were attached to the shoulder straps. So you could just kind of pull down with your hands while you're hiking and kind of help adjust where the weight was sitting on your back, just to mix things up. And honestly, while that sounded like a great idea, I use my trekking poles so much, or I'm constantly taking videos, that I'm already doing stuff with my hands. So I found myself not using them and decided to ditch them, so I just didn't have this other thing dangling down there. But if you don't hike with trekking poles, or even if you do, it might be something that you appreciate. Something else that I like about the Ohm 2.0 is it's customizable, not just in that you can add on accessories, but they actually have several customizable options when you're ordering the pack. First off, you can pick your torso length that you need for the pack and also your hip belt size. A lot of packs will come just a standard small, medium, large, but I like that they understand that you can have a really tall person that needs a large hip belt, or you can have a really tall person that needs a very small hip belt. You can also choose between two different shoulder strap types. They've got the J strap or the S strap. As I mentioned before, you can choose your closure type, whether you want the cinch closure or the roll top closure. Again, that roll top is $15 extra as an add-on. And finally, they've got several different color options. So if you like to get fancy with your colors, they've got teal, royal blue, green, black, or purple. You can even have your pack embroidered for an extra charge if you want to add a little more flair or have yours stick out of the crowd. The total cost of the pack, as is if you were to order it today, is $240, but with that add-on $15 because of the roll top closure, mine would be $255. That's actually a very reasonable price and pretty comparable to other packs on the market these days. You've got some that are way more expensive, you've got some that are much more budget friendly. All in all, the ULA Ohm 2.0 has served me well. I enjoyed carrying it on the Florida Trail, and I would consider it going forward my go-to pack. But of course, I'm always open to try other packs. And if y'all have any suggestions of packs that you think like, man, this is a pretty solid pack, and hearing what she really values in a pack, I think she would like XYZ, feel free to leave that in the comments below. Y'all are actually the ones who told me, like, try the ULA packs, try the ULA packs. So thank you for the suggestion, because I do love my Ohm 2.0. As a side note, I have not been paid, I'm not sponsored, I was not given this gear in exchange for a review. This is simply my opinion based on my experiences that I am sharing with y'all. All right, y'all, that is all I have for you today. I hope that this was useful if some of y'all are on the hunt for the perfect pack. If you've got any questions about the ULA Ohm 2.0, any of the specific features or my experience with it, please leave those in the comments below and I will do my best to get back to you. Thank y'all so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed, don't forget to do that before you go, and we will see y'all next time.